Hello and welcome to Health Talk. I'm Dr. Manny. Research estimates that 50% of teens feel addicted to their phone. Statistics like this may have fueled two major Apple investors to push the company to offer more flexible parental controls. Apple has since announced that it's working on new ways to protect kids from smartphone addiction. But will it be too little too late? Joining me now is to discuss this is clinical psychologist Dr. Sanan Hafiz. So now the question is, and I said it in the intro, and I hear all these talking heads everywhere saying, well, Apple should be held accountable, right? So if a kid, God forbid, you know, they're even talking about that there's going to be increased rates of suicide. I don't believe that. But should companies be held accountable?
So, you know, I go back to this old, our historical narrative of there came a point where cigarette companies had to put a Surgeon General warning on their boxes, on their cartons, right, for children, that it may pose a hazardous risk to a person's health. So I think you can't necessarily hold a phone company responsible, but you at least have to warn of the risks. And I'll tell you what the risks are. It's not just your opinion or my opinion. There is a ton of empirical evidence, data, research coming out in boatloads of information coming out of universities showing that there is a certain clear deleterious effect, a detrimental effect to the mental health of children and adults to some degree of cell phone and tablet use. Because there's no regulation to it, it's continually, keeping you glued to this screen. And from a neurological perspective, the blue screen, activates the same neural pathways that actually disrupts your sleep-wake cycle. But they actually show, they studied 8 million teens from the 70s, 80s, 90s, the first decade of 2000s and now, and they find that teens in the current day are about 3 years behind schedule. And the author of this study was out of the University of San Diego, found that it was primarily because of the cell phone and tablet engagement being on, social media, Instagram, Facebook, what have you, Snapchat, and children don't feel the need to leave their home. When there's a snowstorm, we used to go out and want to go in the snow and have a snowball fight. These kids don't really need to do that anymore, do they?
Now, what about the parents? Shouldn't the parents play a role in controlling the habits of these technologies for their kids?
Yes, but again, this is also a two-pronged question because parents sort of have this attitude where do as I say, not as I do. See, they're also creating a culture where children are watching their parents on their phones all the time. So you can't tell a child you can't be on your phone when the parent's on their phone all the time. So I think there needs to be a culture of if we're at the dinner table, we're having dinner, no phones. If we're watching a movie together, no phones. If we're going for a walk together. So they have to create some kind of, screen-free time with their children and then allow for time with the phones. And you're not just creating then a family-friendly atmosphere at home, but you're also teaching your children how to impose the same limitations on themselves when they're out of your home, when they're at college and now they are missing class because they were on their phone till 2 in the morning and they missed their 9 a.m. class. Right. So it's also instilling those habits long term.
Okay, so parents out there are going to say, okay, doc, tell me, how can I tell them my kid is addicted to a phone?
When your kid doesn't look up and you've called his name 5 times, or he's missing sleep and his grades are declining, or your daughter doesn't want to go out and see her friends because she'd rather make videos on Snapchat. When you're not engaging in what we consider appropriate or typical child or teen play because you'd rather engage with a cell phone or a tablet, that's concerning behavior. Right?
And then what, we send them to rehab?
No, we give them alternate behaviors to engage in. Look, I am the last person who's going to blame Apple or any other phone company. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're creating technology that serves and benefits the lives of millions of people. What I am saying is that there needs to be some sort of mechanism that protects or helps parents protect these children to be normal kids.
All right, well, I don't know how we're going to solve this problem because I get on the subway in the morning and they're all adults and everybody's looking at their phones and nobody's saying good morning to anybody. And those people ain't kids.
I think we need to start with ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And if you have a health question, send a tweet to Fox News Health. Until next time, I'm Dr. Manny.